Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to session 4. And we are going to be talking about basically niching down today, and just some things that you want to start thinking about in order to get ready or to build the right foundation so that whatever you decide to do in terms of selling your videos or your video course or just about anything you want to do, that you want to start setting the stage to have the right people in front of you, the people that really will be the ones that will want the most from what it is that you have to offer. And so we're talking about today where you're going to be putting roots down. So where to put roots down. And so what we've got to do before, in order to set the stage, is we've got to really just define your sub niche focus. And so if you're going to make these video courses sell, however you do to them, you're going to have to add something to them that's going to be effective to a particular audience. But you really first got to define the audience. So the thing we want to do is to try to figure out whoever we are talking to. Kind of information, even if what you're doing is you're talking to people inside of the make money online niche, you still got to define that audience, because this is really going to set the foundation for what it is you're going to do. And so this is going to be true whether or not you're going to be creating your course from scratch or whether or not you're going to be doing rebrandable licensed content. So you can be doing specific PLR, or you can be doing something where you're going to be creating something from scratch, or even using the PLR in order to do that. Because the main process is really determining what people want and need in a product. And so I've said this a while back, what you don't want to do is you don't want to just take any PLR product and just sell it exactly as is. I realize that that's what it's for, but in order to make it sell to a particular niche, what you've got to do is you've got to figure out first, what do the people who are listening to you, what do they really want? And it could be a good idea to start out with the sales letter for your product before you create it, and to start really adapting your product. So in other words, before you finish that process of creating something, or even if you're using rebrandable content, is to start by writing the sales letter. If you start by writing the sales letter, what's going to happen is they'll force you to think about what it is people really want before you start the creation process, because you don't want to go to the market with something you already have saying, hey, buy this. You want to make sure that you've already gone through that process of creating something in accordance to the things that you know people want. And then once you do that, you'll then have a sense of what's going to need to be on the inside of your info product, what's really going to matter people, and then what's really going to make them, what's really going to make them buy when you want to have that irresistible offer. So before we even do that, right, before we can determine that, we've got to start figuring out, the market we can best serve. Right, and this is probably going to be the most difficult thing. Now, the easiest thing to do is to stay within the JVZoo Warrior Plus niche, but I know a lot of people want to be able to go outside of that market, want to be able to go outside of that niche. And so when you do that, or even if within the make money online niche, part of the process is to figuring out, who you best serve. What kinds of things you're going to be talking about on a daily basis that that don't exhaust you. And so, what kind of contacts can you bring to a specific niche market? What kind of skills can you bring? What kind of experience can you bring? And then, if you are going to be coming into the market and you're going to be starting something, you really do need to be teaching something not already being taught, right? And that's really going to be probably the most important thing, because you don't want to do something that somebody's already done and kind of coming in there and sort of adding on to the conversation. You do want to have something where you're going to be teaching a new part of the conversation. And so, even if you've already niched down, part of the process is niching down until it hurts, right? And finding a market that's going to be underserved, in particular, one that you can offer something to. And it doesn't mean that you take anybody's concept. You want to take a concept that's applied broadly and narrow it down. For example, there may be a lot of people helping realtors to get more business, But there but you know, there are also people who are helping specific genders, right, in specific locations, right, with specific categories, you know, at properties at a specific price point, right. And there's a lot of areas for you to narrow down if you're just going to help realtors if you decide to niche down. And typically, you know, what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out, you know, is there enough interest if I niche down, right? And so if you niche down, let's say to that niche market, let's say if you're going to niche down to help those specific realtors, you know, ones in a specific location with specific categories of properties at specific price points, what can you do, or how are you uniquely qualified to serve them? And so here's how you're going to visualize the concept. I mean, assume that you had a business learning center of information videos for that market, right? Let's say that you're going to take your information center. You got videos on Facebook, you've got videos on Twitter, you've got videos on YouTube, you've got videos on everything in terms of business, and you have that business information learning center. You know, what would the individuals in your sub niche need to know in addition to that? Right, because that's what's really going to make your learning center stand out, right? It's not just going to be the stuff just on Facebook. That's going to draw them and perhaps keep them. But what's going to be that information that people are going to know in your particular sub niche that you can add to those videos? And in the courses, you know, what do you need to do inside of a video course in order to make it relevant to the sub niche? Think about those realtors that we mentioned. So how would you need to change, or what would you need to add to, you know, a Facebook course in order to make it relevant to those realtors in the specific sub niche that we are talking about? And none of this is going to be straightforward. Everything is going to be niche specific. Right? In some cases, you may be able to add an interview to a video course. In other cases, you may need to add some written content. You may need to go and buy something else in order to add to that content in order to make it relevant for that specific sub niche. You know, another way to think about this: what if you would do a virtual summit? Who would you bring, and what would the speakers be speaking about in that virtual summit? Again, in order to make it relevant. And what kind of topics would your sub niche be interested in? And so this is what we're going to need to do in order to make the courses relevant, right? We're going to need to make sure that we niche down to the audience that's going to listen to us. And we're going to need to make sure that we're going into an audience that has enough interest for us to be able to uniquely define ourselves. Right, so that's really all we're going to do for today. And we're talking about niching down and just basically some basic principles on niching down. Now, if this has been helpful for you in any way, I'm going to ask you to go over to the plrshow.com/shout and give us a shout out, right? If any of these sessions have been interesting to you. Also, make sure you're subscribed. You can do that at the plrshow.com. You know, another thing that we have been talking about is that you can get hosting for your video learning center. And you can do that at the plrshow.com/LCHSTNG, right? As well as get funnel building software for your products, right? And so you can do that at the plrshow.com/FSCRTCH. Right. Okay. So next time, what we're going to be talking about is building out your brand properties. That's going to be the next step in the process. Okay, everybody. So with that, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you all. Have a great night and have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.